are just now quickly joined in by Representative Suleiman Abu Bakr Ghumi. He's from Nigeria, the Member of Parliament. He's here to participate at the P20, the Parliamentary Speakers Summit here in India, hosted by India. Of course, this is the first time, of course, it's a debut for African Union Parliament to be taking part in the P20 Speakers Summit. As we know that during the G20 Summit, India has pushed for African Union's permanent membership for the G20. Hello, sir. Many thanks for joining us. Please tell us, how do you feel being a part of the P20 Summit? Of course, it comes at a time where we could see the geopolitical scenario changing, and also the fact that this is the Pan-African Parliament is taking part for the P20 Summit here. This is the debut for the Pan-African Parliament. Your comment on that?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the participation of Africa in the G20 Summit is just a step forward towards having the world become a global village where everybody is being taken along in decision making, especially when it comes to environment that affects everyone. So I think it's a good thing that Africa is being involved, and I know Africa has a lot to bring on the table.
Well, as you have mentioned that Africa has a lot to bring on the table, and also the fact that India has pushed for African Union's membership for the G20. This is something, of course, India's role has been quite steadfast when it comes to pushing for countries like Africa. What do you have to say on that, and what can we expect from the P20 Summit? Of course, you're here for the Parliamentary Speakers Summit. What can we expect from it?
Yeah, India is a very old democracy. I think the oldest democracy in the world. And it's not surprising they are extending their reach to Africa, because for inclusivity. I think India is just living up to expectations, because a democracy like India should, people would know that everybody is important, that India is recognizing the fact that Africa is also a part of the global village.
Did you meet Prime Minister Modi right now? Did you have an interaction with him right now?
I know. Okay, I only saw him when he was reading his speech on the stage.
And he has also mentioned about the African Union there in his speech. And also the fact that, we are at a very crucial stage where we could see the geopolitical scenario changing with a lot of global issues, starting from the Russian conflict, and now also the fact that the Israel-Palestine conflict is ongoing. Would you like to comment on that, sir?
Okay, starting with the activities of the world right now, people are trying to place themselves, on the right, with the right team. We have the Russian Chinese team where the dollar is not going to be their tool for exchange, and you have the side where the Americans and their dollar is. So every country right now is trying to place itself, and I think being part of the G20 makes it easy for Africa to decide which team they want to belong to. The issue of the conflict right now, it's just a division. It's just an extension of the division between the West and the Americas. I think there's more to the conflict, especially in the Middle East. There's more to it. It's not just about Israel and Hamas or Israel and Palestine. It's more than that. It goes beyond that, because it's the powers behind. Actually, what in my own opinion, there's so much double standard in the world, where you have Ukraine-Russia war, and Ukraine is being supported, 100% with all the ammunition and all the things they need, because it's under the impression that they are under occupation by Russia. Now the same scenario is playing out in the Middle East between Israel and Palestine. The Ukrainians are in the position of Palestinians, but Palestinians are not getting the same support they are getting by the European Union and the Americans. So I think there's a lot of global, double standards going on. I think we need to sit down and reevaluate what is happening, and we need to be fair. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. If whatever is good for Ukraine is also good for the Palestinians. is simple. The two-state solution, which everyone is clamoring, would have solved this problem. You know, and so the America needs to do the right thing. I think India is well, we are yet to know what position India is taking, but I believe they are also they're always on the right path. You know, they support justice. So I think at the end of the day, we'll see what will happen.
Right, of course, the fact that Africa has been put out, of course, brought into this table, of course, what would be the strategies going ahead when it comes to such multilateral forums like the G20 and now, of course, the Parliamentary Speakers Summit? What would be the strategies for the African Union?
You know, let's look at the issues of climate change. I think one of the worst hit continents is the African continent when it comes to climate change. So we should have a say on how things are going to go. And you know, industrialization, we are the least in industrialization. So, and we are the worst hit. So I think having Africa on the table gives it the opportunity to have a say at how things go. Because if we are to cut down emission, it will definitely affect our development, you know, industrialization, and so which we are now at the back seat. So there has to be a balance for Africa to grow, at the same time be part of the mitigation against emission. So I think having Africa come to summits like this is giving Africa the opportunity to be part of the global discourse.
So lastly, of course, what do you expect from this Parliamentary Speakers Summit? Because, of course, the speakers and the parliamentarians here are here. What can we expect from this particular summit? What would you like to take a message from here to your country?
Yeah, the theme here is life. You know, lifestyle for environment. I think it's a way forward. It's a simple step solutions for climate change mitigation, and I think Africa needs that at the moment. It's interesting to know that what India is doing, the steps they are taking. In fact, going through Delhi, you know this is an environmentally friendly environment. I think Africa has a lot to learn for that. When it comes to you go for shopping and you take your bag along, it's a simple solution that will reduce a lot of environmentally hazardous materials from going into the environment, like nylon, you know, and which is something we use in Africa. I think these are simple steps that we should adopt, and we should learn from India, you know, so that we can contribute positively in this struggle for reduction of carbon emission into the atmosphere.
Thank you so much for joining us quickly, and of course, we hope that you have a great time here at the P20 Summit, and we look forward that the African Union brings a lot of changes, a lot of strategies going forward for that matter. Thank you so much. So as we know that, of course, India has pushed for G20, for African Union's membership in the G20. And of course, now I'm here at the P20 Leaders Summit, the Parliamentary Speakers Summit, where all the parliamentarians of the G20 countries and also the Pan-African Parliament, this is a debut for Pan-African Parliament to take part in the P20 Summit. As the Member of Parliament has already mentioned that African Union would be focusing on climate change and also emission of carbon would be one of the priorities for African Union. Well, as we know that India has been steadfast. India has been leading its way forward to give voices to smaller countries, to countries like Africa, and this is something extraordinary because it's India who has pushed for the African Union's inclusion in the G20. This is Chandrakala Choudhury for ETV Bharat.